I'm the Rock Hopper, and today I'm going to give you a taste of Oregon's Wallowa mountain range and the Eagle Cap Wilderness. We'll start out here on the Kettle Creek Trail and go up a ways and check it out. The trail starts out in the shadowed forests and gently winds its way higher and higher. I like the majestic big trees. Do you? We begin on the trail, going through the forest. A nice meadow of ferns and other plants along the Kettle Creek Trail. That is one very vividly red berry right there. I wouldn't recommend eating it though, nor would I recommend eating these white berries either. A snowberry is no berry to be eating. Alright, we're at the edge of the Eagle Cap Wilderness. These little blueberries here are Oregon grape. And yes, you can eat them, however they are kind of bitter. They're better if you cook them and make jam or something out of them and add some sugar. They're kind of bitter, not very tasty when they're raw. Got the old reliable Saskatoon berries here. They're looking a little bit dried out because it's early September, so they're kind of on the way out, and I guess the bears missed these ones. But they're still pretty tasty, even when they're kind of dried out and dehydrated. Now that we're in the wilderness, it looks like we're getting into some big trees. This one might even be an old-growth tree. Old-growth forests and old-growth trees are rarities in the state of Oregon, as it has been extensively logged for over 100 years. There's a shot from afar. It's a pretty big tree, and I think we'll find some bigger ones. Are these choke cherries? I've kind of forgotten, but have a little taste. Not real sweet. I don't think we'll eat those. I'm hiking along the Kettle Creek Trail right now, and it's a hot, dry, south-facing slope. So I think I'll turn around and go back down and show you another part, another trail. Many of the views may be obscured by smoke. Unfortunately, smoke has become a recurring theme in the summer as the fires burn throughout the west. From about July 15th to early October, the skies are laden with smoke. That's a pretty dramatic cliff right there, starting off at East Eagle. Back in the Eagle Cap Wilderness, this time from the East Eagle Trail side. And as the name implies, it follows the East Eagle Creek. The wind is kicking up pretty fiercely now. I've even seen some small branches being knocked out of the trees and falling down from quite some elevation up in the trees. There's a wasp nest you do not want to mess with. I think a front is moving in. And the good thing about that is when the wind kicks up, it might blow some of this smoke out of here. The bad news, however, is that the wind is going to really fan the flames of any existing fires. The trail follows above the creek and weaves through the forest where it's nice and shady and cool. Let me update you on the current situation. These berries right here, those are currants and they're edible. So, I'm going to have a couple of them. Not bad. That is quite a cliff right there. I'd say that's a good 1,000-foot, if not more. The Indian paintbrush flowers are fading like the summer sun, but they're still pretty. I'm going to show you something to keep in mind. So this plant right here where my hand is, and this other plant right over here. Okay, so this one right here where my finger's pointing is goldenrod, and it's growing right next to something that looks pretty similar. Now, the goldenrod is edible, but the one on the left I would advise you not eat because it could be quite toxic. So you've got to be very careful when you're in the wild and identify your plants and make sure you don't make any mistakes. You've got to be 100% certain that the plant you're going to eat is in fact the one you want. As you can see, the leaves of the two different plants are actually very similar. Here's a look at some of the mountains so far. These creek beds in the spring would be rushing with ice cold water. But because it's getting toward fall, they're dry. It looks like that was a gigantic burl when this tree was alive. It's probably 3 feet across. I can tell you I've never eaten these shiny red berries here. I'm not really certain if you can eat them, but I would err on the side of caution and not do so. Generally speaking, I tend to avoid really glossy, shiny berries. Certain kinds of ferns, you can eat the small, unfurling fiddlehead, such as bracken fern. This one I don't believe is bracken fern, but it may be a type of it, but I'm not 100% on that, so if there was a fiddlehead here, I would probably try it though. I have eaten the fern buds before, and they taste kind of like walnuts. This plant is stinging nettle, and there's a reason they call it that. It has little spines on it, and they will sting you, and it's going to hurt for quite some time. You need gloves or something to harvest these. Here's some more stinging nettles here. Once you boil them, you cook them, it neutralizes the stingers. And it tastes kind of like spinach, and it's quite nutritious. I really enjoy them as wild edibles. Here's another look at stinging nettles. You can see their little seeds hanging down. This is the thimbleberry plant, but their berries are long since gone, unless you get lucky and find a dehydrated one still on the vine. Check it out, there are still a few thimbleberries left, and they are dried out, very dehydrated, but still good to eat, although they are pretty dry. But they still have that thimbleberry sweet tart taste, if you chew them enough. Now here's a good find. Very tiny wild rose hips. Let's take one of those and kind of nibble on it. Spit out the seeds. They're very hard seeds inside, but the rose hips, very high in vitamin C. I plucked this off a tree. This is a type of lichen, and I was eating some of it. It's supposed to have some kind of benefit, like an immune system booster. Tastes about as good as eating flavorless cotton candy. Yeah, it's like eating cotton candy with absolutely no taste to it. I don't know about cotton candy. Maybe it's more like eating a bathtub sponge. These are wild strawberry plants here. That's more of a springtime thing when you find the berries. Although I guess you can make a tea out of the leaves. But as you can see, these are well on the way out. These flowers right here are wild clover. I do recall eating these once or twice. And I recall, I believe, making a tea out of the leaves. These aren't great, but kind of dry and not really very tasty, but if you're in a survival situation, I guess you can eat them. I did get a very slight touch of nectar sweetness from eating that wild clover flower, however. In the summer, this plant would yield raspberries. Probably the wild black raspberries, which are one of my favorites. Wow, look at that. There's still a huckleberry hanging on. These are yummy. And another. Wow, there's quite a few still out here. These two blue-colored berries, I would not recommend eating them. I don't quite recall what they are, but I don't think they're edible. This is corn lily, a highly toxic plant that will poison you and could potentially kill you. Hey, nice. We've got a little mint here. I'm gonna have a nice little tasty mint break. Minty fresh. Wow, there's a whole lot of mint still left here. Fall is approaching, as evidenced by these leaves. Look at that nice plump Saskatoon berry. Here's some fireweed that's already getting some fall color on. Might as well grab a bite of that while I'm at it. Can eat it raw or cooked. Here is the ubiquitous dandelion. A good source of vitamin C and A. Look at this beautiful little nook. If this is pure source water coming right out of the earth, you could drink it. I'm above the spring now, and looking in here, this is right where it's coming out of the earth. So it's only flowing maybe 7, 8, maybe 10 feet. So odds are good that this is a pure source that you could drink this water directly without purification. I'm very particular about my water sources, but I deem this one safe, so I'm gonna fill up my water bottle. This guy likes hanging out in the cove here. Look at how big that guy is. He's way cool. He's just chilling. Another reason I thought this water source was safe is because it was very brushy right around where the water came out of the earth, and there were no animal tracks or animal scat anywhere. Beautiful maidenhair ferns. Look at that spider on that flower. The East Eagle Trail continues past the big woods. There was a number on there. 54. I'm not sure what that's about. Look at the size of this tree. This could be 250, who knows, maybe even 300 years old. We've finally come across a stream that isn't dried out. A cascade along East Eagle Creek. A look back into the smoky haze. Check that out, a caterpillar. I wasn't expecting to find them here so late in the season. A wild strawberry leaf, turning red as fall approaches. Some more berries. Are these currants or black gooseberries? I can't recall at this moment, but I know they're edible. A look at the trail and what's ahead. A swift flume on East Eagle Creek. I think these berries may be from the mountain ash. Now, I'm not positive of that, and I wouldn't eat these berries raw. There is a possibility that if you cooked them, they might be edible. Look at the way that tree grew. You can make an emergency shelter utilizing that tree. The tree becomes your roof, and you put sticks and branches up against it on each side. And then you cover the branches with pine boughs to protect yourself from the rain, or, if it's snowing, to help have an insulative barrier as the snow collects and creates an insulating wall. Must be a lucky trail. Got a horseshoe on the tree here. Looks like this cricket is busy laying her eggs into the ground. A small waterfall about a quarter mile from the trail. The wind is picking up. The clouds are blowing in. It's getting cooler, and it's getting late in the day. It's time to start thinking about turning back. And in the higher elevations, the plants that are starting to turn gold. Look at the size of this tree. my, I just witnessed a tree blown over by the wind just 100 yards behind me where I had just walked. It made quite a thump and a crack when it hit the ground. I hope you learned a thing or two about the wild edibles and the not so edibles. Looks like it's a good time to turn around and head back. I hope you enjoyed this taste of the Wallowas. Not only a taste of the trails and the scenic beauty, but of the wild edibles that exist out here that, if you know them, could even save your life. Until next time, this is the Rock Hopper. I'll see ya.